is the Jesse Kelly Show, final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful, magnificent Thursday. As we near the end of the week, we'll talk about these people like Donald Trump and this Japanese PM who don't sleep. We'll do some emails, mental health struggles, sports is garbage now, all that and so much more coming up in the final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show. And reminding you again that get your Ask Dr. Jesse questions in for tomorrow, Jesse at jessekellyshow.com. So I'm not generally an envious person. If you ask Ob, she will say, that's because you're so cocky and think you're the best. But that's not true. I'm just not generally somebody who looks at anyone and says, I wish I had their life. I wish I had their skills. I wish I had their car, their house, their money, their wife. I just don't really, I've never looked at the world that way. I know it's probably a sickness, but I remember being asked who my hero was when I was a kid, and I didn't have an answer. I don't really have one. I like me. I'm a big fan of me. All right, whatever. However, I have to admit, there's something I really, really admire about, well, I should admire may not be the word for it. Something I do wish I had that not very many people have, and you probably don't. There are people on this earth, they are rare, who just don't need very much sleep. There's an article out today about the new Japanese PM. She's apparently hardcore. Says she sleeps 2 to 4 hours a night. I did that Megyn Kelly event recently with me and Megyn and Donald Trump Jr. And I told you we hung out afterwards. We did our own little private thing. We just hung out and talked about life and everything else. And I asked Don about his dad, the president, Donald Trump. And I said, he seems like he doesn't sleep. He's putting up social media posts all hours of the day. When he's on Air Force One, he's giving interviews the whole time. He's flying. It seems like he doesn't sleep. Does he sleep? And he gave me this exasperated look. And he said, no, like 2 hours a night. And he said, and so we talked about the exasperated look. And Don said, I worked for him for a long time. It was awful because I would go out at night and have fun, and he would call me at 4, 5 a.m. and say, Don, are you at work? And Don would be like, no, I'm sleeping. And Donald Trump, the president, who was then a businessman, said, I know you're not at work because I'm at work and you're not here. And you could tell, like, he had a great admiration for it. But you could also tell the pain, the painful memories, because he'd say, I'd have to get up and get a shower and go into work. Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't need much sleep. I bring this up, like I said, I try not to be an envious person. It's just not in my personality. I have to have 7 or 8 hours. Chris, where are you at in this? I have to have, I take that back. If I got 6 solid hours, I'm okay. I'm okay. I may not be my best, but I'm not okay. With 7 solid hours, I'm pretty good. If I knock out 8, I'm my best version of me. But if that's 5, if that's 4, I'm not even the same human being. My mind doesn't work right. I have no energy. I can't think. I can't talk. I'm in a horrible mood all the time. I swear it's almost a superpower, and there aren't many people who are this way. Ob is a little more that way. If she gets 5 or 6, that's a great night's sleep for Ob. Dude, if I only get 6, if I were to string those days together, only 6, that's bad. I think Jewish producer Chris sleeps 12 hours a night, so he doesn't count. How many do you need? In all seriousness, Chris, how many? 6? Try pressing the button from now on. That way I don't have to read your lips, Chris. Six most days. He's lying, of course. It's much more than that. That's all he does is sleep. I take that back. He has a toddler. Toddler now, Chris? Toddler? He has a toddler now, so there is no more sleep. There is no nothing. You don't sleep ever again. That's what it feels like. What? Yeah, you're never sleeping again, Chris. Sorry, buddy. This actually brings me perfectly to most Americans say people they confide in about their own mental health struggles can't help them cope. This is why you don't tell anybody about your mental health struggles. You just internalize everything because nobody cares. Bronco, this is in reference to me not bringing a brisket over to the neighbors for Thanksgiving because he's making a turkey. Obviously, you can't upstage your host for Thanksgiving. Therefore, you cannot bring a brisket. Have you thought about ramping up your appetizer game? Have you heard of brisket bites? One, he gives the recipe. I'm considering it. Two, I need a money appetizer that's a dude's appetizer. Appetizers are generally a woman's thing, in my opinion. They're just better at them. Ob is much better at coming up with some kind of thing for an appetizer. I don't do appetizers, so hear me out. Mozzarella sticks. Everybody loves a mozzarella stick. How hard can it be to make? You can get a mozzarella stick at friggin' Jack in the Box. Everybody can apparently make a mozzarella stick. How hard can it be? What, Chris? Chris said all those are frozen. Well, yeah, that's what I will serve too, frozen ones. I don't, hold on, maybe I needed to clarify. I don't want to put in any effort. I don't want to put in any effort at all. I want to do the minimal amount of effort for the maximum amount of return. That's the kind of person I am. This is why I bring Little Caesars pizzas whenever the neighborhood has a big potluck cookout type thing, and everybody laughs at White Trash Jesse. Ah, ha, ha, your Little Caesars pizzas. Guess which one people descend on first like a bunch of ravenous animals. Speaking of ravenous animals, let's talk about California. What did they just say?
California is revoking 17,000 commercial driver's licenses issued to immigrants.
Yeah, the decision is directly related to the legal status of the immigrant driver.
Yeah, John, Rachel, Tony, that's right. The state says the licenses are being revoked because they're set to expire after the date the drivers are allowed to be in the U.S.
17,000 commercial driver's licenses. Those are people in big rigs. And they're not just delivering goods to California, all across the United States of America. California issued driver's licenses to 17,000 illegals. I am not a nervous driver, but I wish I didn't know as much as I've been finding out about the CDL industry. The big rig trucker industry. And there are so many truckers listening now, and they email in their horror stories about what they see or even what they work with. Maybe it's a cope, but when I see a big rig, maybe because I've had so many wonderful experiences with truckers, just personally, I enjoy them. I automatically think that's a good old boy in that big rig. He's been driving it for 20 years. He can back it into he can parallel park that thing by the inch. He did this perfectly. He knows what he's doing. He's on point. Sure, he's going to stop at the Flying J and he's going to eat something unhealthy before he goes in and uses the bathroom. But then when he goes back into the big rig, he is on point and knows what he's doing. He has to, right? He's got this big, dangerous vehicle driving all over the country. He knows what he's doing, right? Well, maybe.
California is revoking 17,000 commercial driver's licenses issued to immigrants.
Yeah, the decision is directly related to the legal status of the immigrant driver.
Yeah, John, Rachel, Tony, that's right. The state says the licenses are being revoked because they're set to expire after the date the drivers are allowed to be in the U.S.
17,000, and that's just what they revoked. How many of those trucks out there right by you, right behind you, how many of them are manned by some dude who just got here from Nicaragua. He don't habla, and he doesn't have any idea how to drive on the. He couldn't drive a Prius efficiently, and he's driving a big rig. Ugh, gives me the willies. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Thursday. So we're going to get to some emails here in a moment, but I have to play this. Katie Wilson, she's the new mayor of Seattle. Just listen to these people. This is what has happened. The purity, the communist purity death spiral that is destroying all of our major American cities. And there just doesn't seem to be a way out of the death spiral. I know that eventually we may see one, but what happens is in these big cities, good people leave, so you lose those votes. The city itself continues to get filled up with more and more filth and corruption and crime. More good people leave. Eventually, it's 90-10 evil scumbags. The good people have no chance for representation. And now the evil morons have to compete with each other to see who can be a bigger evil moron in order to get elected. Look at Mamdani, just got elected in New York City. This is where we are. This person, I need to stress this, this is not a college freshman that just took her first economics class. This person is taking the reins to be the mayor of what was at one point in time one of the coolest cities in the United States of America. I have such fond memories of Seattle. What a freaking cool place. This is where it is now.
Access to affordable, healthy food is a basic right. We cannot allow giant grocery chains to stomp all over our communities, close stores at will, and leave behind food deserts. Together we can build a Seattle where fresh food is for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Food deserts are not natural. Corporations create them when they abandon our communities. As mayor, I'm excited to step up and with UFCW explore public option grocery stores to fill those gaps.
We cannot allow these corporations to leave public grocery stores, which of course means government-run grocery stores, which will fail horrifically as they always fail. We have to sit and watch, unless you're in Seattle right now, which in that case, I'm sorry, but the rest of us have to sit and watch this flaming car crash that we know is coming. We have to just sit and watch it in horror. And the best we can do, I guess, is laugh, but it's not funny. It's not funny to me that New York is being destroyed, that LA is being destroyed, that Seattle's destroyed, and Chicago's destroyed. It's not funny to me. But there's nothing else we can do but watch in horror. How do you get elected in a place like Seattle where the good people have fled to the suburbs or even further? Dirtballs, homeless people, druggies, and illegals have filled up the city. These are the people who vote now, in collaboration, of course, with the America-hating communists that are everywhere. And now, in order to achieve higher office in these areas, instead of having to prove your aptitude or have good ideas, you have to present the dumbest, worst ideas humanly possible that will destroy the most stuff, and that's how you get elected. If you were in a Democrat primary running in the city of Seattle, and you were to say something like, hey, government-run grocery stores don't work. And I'm not talking about you have to talk like you or me. If you were to just say, they don't work, we've tried these a bunch of times, and the grocery shelves are just going to be empty. There's not going to be anything in them. The government can't run these properties properly, and the food desert that everybody's talking about, it's actually going to get much worse when the government starts running them. If you were to just say that, you would get massacred in these places now. Because anything reasonable, anything remotely mature at all is immediately rejected by the communists who vote in the elections. It's a wild place to be. Maureen Kelly, if we can spin up Operation Warp Speed to combat a virus from China, then why can't we spin up another one to quickly train able-bodied and able-minded American citizens to replace visa alien workers? I'm not a smart man, but I know baloney when I hear it. Give me a break. He asked me to withhold his name, and I will. Yeah, I reject this notion that Americans aren't talented enough, that Americans, we're not able to be trained. We could be trained. The American we have now, because we exported so much of this stuff to other countries, in this exact moment, we may not have all the knowledge we need to run all the things we need to run, but we can learn. Other countries learned. Why in the world can't we learn? Of course we can learn. This is not true at all. We have not had the chance to learn because American corporations have been hiring foreigners for decades and decades and decades and rejecting American workers because they don't want to pay American wages. They don't want to deal with any of it. They want foreign slave labor. So they train foreigners, hire foreigners, and then when we start to speak up and say, could you hire Americans? These jobs should be for Americans. We get all these politicians and business leaders saying, these Americans aren't even trained for it. Yeah, you haven't trained us. I've watched 18-year-old young men who never shot a weapon become proficient in firearms in 3 or 4 months. The Marine Corps does it all the time. Don't tell me Americans can't be trained. We're too dumb, we're too young, we're too lazy. God, no, that's completely, that's false. I have a wonderful story that'll make you feel good. Next. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a fantastic Thursday as we near the end of the week, and it's time to put a smile on your face and on my face. Do you know who Jamal Osman is? You probably don't. But Jamal Osman, he's a member of the Minneapolis City Council. He just won re-election. His platform was restorative justice programs for low-level offenses, violence prevention programs, and alternative responses to 911 calls. You know exactly what kind of guy this is. He ran for office and got elected on a pro-crime, pro-rape, pro-theft, pro-murder stance. Let all the criminals out. They're just misunderstood because he's a communist. He was just carjacked. He was just carjacked by a couple teen hoodlums, and I kid you not, called the cops, of course, called the cops, and this is what he says afterwards, quote, "I'm not a legal expert, but there has to be some kind of consequences with this action. If individuals know they can get away with this kind of heinous behavior or crimes, they're going to continue to do it again." Oh, that is so sad. Were you, by chance, afraid? Did you feel fear when a couple young thugs came up to you and pointed mace in your face and then stole your car? Were you perhaps saddened when you watched them crash it? By the way, they crashed it and had to escape on foot. Were you saddened to watch your vehicle be banged up? That's a real pain, isn't it? Man, now you're going to have to take that into the shop. That takes forever. It's going to be expensive. Even if you have insurance, your deductible is going to be, man, that is a real shame. These violent criminals, they hurt people, don't they? That's too bad that happened to you. I feel terrible, absolutely terrible for you. I'm lying. I actually think it's hilarious, and I'm thrilled that happened to you. And you know why I'm thrilled it happened to you? Because you want it to happen to other people. I, in fact, wish that this kind of thing, I wish every person who pushes restorative justice in this ridiculous commie gobbledygook, I wish every one of them would have their car stolen. I find it to be the funniest thing in the world. I will gleefully report on this every single time purely out of spite. But if I have to be honest and try to make myself sound like a little bit of a better person, I want you to learn. I want you to care what innocent people go through because of your scumbag, dirty commie policies. Jesse, I think Trump needs to take a page out of the military's playbook. Oh, this is just what I was saying. When I joined after 9/11, it only took 6 months for me to go from a schlub that barely graduated high school to a subject matter expert on chemical, biological, and nuclear warfare. If they can do that to me, they can absolutely grab people off the street and teach them to make things in a factory. Semper Fi says his name is Matt. Yeah. Americans can learn things just like people in India can learn things, just like people in China can learn things, and Mexico can learn things. Americans are more than capable of learning the things they need to learn in order to fill the jobs that need to be filled in this country. I don't want to hear any more excuses about how we absolutely positively have to massively import foreigners by the million, otherwise the country will collapse. That does not fly with me at all. None whatsoever. You want to feel better? Let's listen to Marco Rubio.
I don't think that the European Union...
By the way, this has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. I just made a transition because I felt like it.
I don't think that the European Union gets to determine what international law is. They certainly don't get to determine is how the United States defends its national security. The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country.
It is nice to have an administration that doesn't cower in fear every time the Europeans throw a hissy fit about something. And it is nice to have an administration that doesn't constantly brag about the approval of foreigners. It's one of the things that grades on me when Democrats get elected. They go overseas, they apologize for how horrible and evil and mean America is, and then they come back home and they brag about how much Europeans love us now. They hated us when Trump was there, but now all these Frenchmen, they love us. Now we're respected again in the world, as if that's something I would prioritize at all. Jesse, I'm a simple construction worker here in Wyoming. I'm sure this is crazy, but wouldn't it make it easier to create peace in the region if we made Israel a U.S. state? Listen, part of the reason the colonial powers were not able to hang on to all of their global colonies is because it's difficult to defend a state or colony, whatever you want to say, that's not on your border. A continuous landmass is really, really important. We're only able to get away with things like Alaska because it's Canada between us and them. Otherwise, that would be a problem. Hawaii, you can say, well, we have Hawaii. Yeah. Where was the country attacked the last time a major power attacked us? Where was it attacked? Hawaii. It's far away. It's really, really far away. And remember, Japan, they were coming for Hawaii. Had we not stopped them in their tracks at Midway, they were planning on heading that direction. Hawaii is dangling out there. Sorry if you're listening right now in Honolulu. Hawaii is dangling out there like a ripe apple getting ready to be plucked off the tree. It's really, really difficult to protect your colonies that are far away physically from where you are. Remember, after the Spanish-American War, we took possession of the Philippines. And that was hard. And we had eventually decided this isn't friggin' worth it after a really nasty guerrilla war, which we've covered before on the show. We decided, man, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Let's just give it back to the friggin' Filipinos. Let's get along with them. Let's train with them. We'll become, I was about to say collaborators, but that has kind of an ugly meaning to it. We'll start to be friends, allies. And we were. Why did we do that? It's not like we didn't want the Philippines. It's rubber rich, resource rich. Philippines have great resources. Why do we give it back? Man, it's too freaking difficult to try to maintain and protect a colony that's really, really, really far away. This is why I have been a big fan of conquering Central America. And what, Chris? And Mexico and only a little bit of South America. They're right there. They're on the border. Let's liberate these peoples from the liberate, Chris. You always have to be. You have to come as a liberator. Let's liberate these peoples from the oppressive regimes that are smashing them. Let's set them free. You can't do that for Israel. It's too friggin' far away. What do you do when Israel gets in trouble again? What do you do? Then you have to constantly project force over there. Ask the Brits what it was like. You know, the Brits were able to colonize so many parts of the planet because of their incredible Navy. And we have an incredible Navy too. So we could conquer something. You know, we'll make it the Philippines again. We could go take it. Be a pain. We could go take it. There's a difference between taking something and actually holding something and presiding over something for an extended period of time. The second you get in trouble, financial trouble, maybe a war, God forbid, with China or something like that, whatever is far away from you is going to be taken away from you. You really want a continuous landmass. That's kind of important. All right. We're going to get to some emails, some headlines. We will once again make fun of Nancy Pelosi and so much more. Hang on. It is the Jesse Kelly Show, final segment of the Jesse Kelly Show before tomorrow for an Ask Dr. Jesse Friday. Of course, get your questions emailed in to jesse@jessekellyshow.com. Jesse@jessekellyshow.com. That doesn't make any sense. Gotta respect TSA agents who toughed it out and get $10,000 bonuses.
So today we are announcing that we are going to be handing out bonus checks of $10,000 to TSOs, to agents who work for TSA who served with exemplary service. And what that means is that we are going to not only continue their paychecks like they should have received all along, but also they're going to get a bonus check for stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day, for serving the American people.
I just wanted to say this, the reason I played this. I've always said this to you. You don't have to ever be treated like a punching bag by your employer. You're a human being. You have every right to have hopes and dreams and desires. Take a vacation now and then. That's all that stuff is totally true. All that stuff is true. But be a hard worker. Be the one who shows up when others don't. Who told you this during COVID? During COVID, when everybody decided that they were done with working in person and everything had to be done online and everything was a Zoom meeting, who's the one who sat right here and told you if it was an option, if your boss made it optional, go to work, go into the office? What did I tell you? And now they're making people go back to the office. And people who went to the office got promoted. Those who stayed home in their jammies did not. Good things happen when the boss asks you to make a pot of coffee if you have time. You absolutely can say, hold on. My job description doesn't say anything about making coffee. I'm here as a data analyst. I will only make data. Are you going to get fired? Of course not. When it comes time to hand out bonus checks, maybe promotions, who's going to be the next manager, man, that pot of coffee would have been an easy thing to get. No? Rubio said this.
These cartels are very powerful. And one of the things that no one is discussing enough is the rise of these transnational terrorist organizations. And just because they're not ideologically driven does not mean they're not terrorists. You don't have to be ideological to be a terrorist. And they're terrorists because they possess, in many cases, more weapons, better training, better intelligence, and more capabilities than nation states do.
I was told this years ago, I've told you this before, by my buddy who worked with Border Patrol, that the cartel comms, communications equipment was superior to the equipment that he had at Border Patrol. Superior to it. This is just a historical fact. They've brought in mercenaries from various special forces groups around the world for weapons training. They have military weapons because they buy them from the military. I've seen on video these cartel shootouts. It's not a couple gangbangers in East LA with some pistols with the serial numbers shaved off of them. They're shooting freaking 50 cals and things like that. And they have helicopters. These guys, man, it is something. Here was AOC on CNN.
I think it's important that we understand.
That was a lot of letters. Did you hear how I rolled that off the tongue? Here was AOC on CNN. Chris, not anybody can do that, right? I possess a very particular set of skills, Chris. What, Chris?
I think it's important that we understand that this is not just about Senator Schumer, but that this is about the Democratic Party. Senator Schumer, there's no one vote that ended this shutdown. We are talking about a coordinated effort of 8 senators with the knowledge of Leader Schumer voting to break with the entire Democratic Party in exchange for nothing.
Do you ever get the feeling, because I had this feeling, everyone's been talking about AOC potentially challenging Chuck Schumer in a primary, and Republicans are having a good time with all this. Schumer's afraid of AOC. AOC's the leader of the party. So it's being spoken about. They've both heard it. AOC's heard it. Chuck Schumer has heard it. Whether or not AOC actually does it, do you get the feeling that she is enjoying him being afraid? Because I do. I feel like she's standing over him. She's standing over him with the power to smash him. And whether or not she chooses to take advantage of it, she's a little bit drunk on that kind of power. Think about how bold this is. Chuck Schumer is not some chump. Chuck Schumer is the most powerful Democrat in D.C. You would probably say, yeah, political power-wise, he's the most powerful Democrat in Washington, D.C. now that Grandma Vodka is kind of old and washed up and hammered most of the time. And Chuck Schumer gets routinely veiled threats from a relatively junior congresswoman from the Bronx. Man, that's something.
And now,
Here's a headline.
Go, you know the thing.
headlines we didn't get to.
Jerry Jones' daughter says we're a society based on immigrants while defending the NFL's Bad Bunny halftime show. I cannot wait. You will know the country has fully healed when we stop having to hear things like nation of immigrants. We're a nation of citizens. Yes, people can immigrate here. We are a country. We have our own culture, and that is good, like every other country on the planet. Germany's ruling party strikes a new military service deal. Uh-oh, Chris. Trump administration targets Antifa groups as foreign terror organizations. Does this mean they're not going to be allowed to ravage TPUSA when they do events from now on? Toyota opens massive North Carolina battery plant, confirms $10 billion in U.S. investment. Let's get the manufacturing back here. I support it. Colombia does an about-face on ending an intel exchange with the U.S. We actually have audio of that.
Buenas tardes.
Disney shares tumble as the film flops hit revenue. I've totally given up on at this point in time that Disney will ever lose enough money on these sorry, crappy commie movies to actually choose to stop making them. It just seems to be a religious commitment at this point in time. They will never stop. They will never slow down. They will never surrender. Are you ready for tomorrow? Because we're going to have fun. Let's Ask Dr. Jesse Friday. I'm in a great mood. And the boys are out of town, so I'm going to go home. I'm going to make a Totino's party pizza. I'm going to watch a World War II documentary, and nothing's going to stop me. That's all.